Modern players, do I have a sweet announcement for you today. Now, you've probably already seen this all over, but I am very excited. We are getting a new secret lair, and along with that, we're getting the hint at our ban announcement. It says, "Note: we are planning an upcoming BNR announcement. In that announcement, we plan to ban Uro of Titans. Wait." Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath in Pioneer, Modern, and Historic. Additionally, we are continuing discussions about doing the same in Legacy. We are still working internally on the larger BNR announcement for that week. We wanted to share this information ahead of the sale. Now, what this does is it's going to shake up the entire format. Okay, not only are we getting the direct statement of we're banning Uro, but they're also going to be banning more. Hopefully, that means that they're saying, "Hey, we're doing more BNR in Modern," because that I really want to see more. But who knows? Maybe Uro's the only ban we get. Anyway, this is not a channel for Magic news currently, but it just shakes up the format so much. Uro's no longer be something we have to worry about when we build our decks. So, moving on, I am in a very good mood, very excited mood. So, our deck is a deck that I am very excited about. Mara budget, Dragon Control, and it is sweet. Okay, so the main synergy of the deck, you'll notice, is going to be Magda, Brazen Outlaw, and this is not a dwarf deck. It says, other dwarves you control get +1/+0, whatever. Toss that to the wayside. Whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. That actually matters in this deck. Sacrifice 5 treasures, search your library for an artifact or dragon card, and put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. That is awesome, and we're really going to work on that. I really wanted to just shove a random Blightsteel Colossus in this deck, but it would have taken up like a tenth to fifth of the deck, and I really Blightsteel Colossus is just kind of funny, but this deck is sweet. Now I'm going to explain a few of these cards that you could replace for non-budget options as well, because you might just already own them. Anyway, we're going to move on real quick. This actually synergizes with Moth Dust Changeling, which says it's a 1-drop Changeling, so it's every creature type, counting dwarves, and says tap an untapped creature you control. It gains flying until end of turn. It doesn't say another tapped creature you control. So if you don't feel great about attacking into your opponent, then you can leave this up and then just tap it to itself. Anyway, so that's the way we get extra. That's the way we're getting our treasures in this game. It also counts as a dragon. We're not. This is not what you want to sacrifice 5 treasures to go grab with Magda, but it is something to remember that it is a dragon. Next up is Sprite Dragon. Now, this is not really something our main target with Magda, but it is still a dragon, and you'll see why we want so many dragons. We are going to be a control deck, but it's more of a tempo-y control deck, so landing this is kind of like a 2-mana Delver. Anyway, and it's a 2-mana Delver with creature type synergy. Next up is Bonecrusher Giant, which is 2-mana Stomp, 3 mana, you got a 4/3 Giant. This card is very powerful in the format, and honestly probably one of the best cards to pick up on a budget, because it will transfer to your non-budget decks. Glorybringer as a 1-of, and it's not a 1-of because we couldn't afford more. It's a 1-of because I only want it as a 1-of. It's a 4/4 for 5 mana dragon, flying haste. You may exert it as it attacks. When you do, deal 4 damage to target non-dragon creature an opponent controls. This originally, I built this deck yesterday, was originally built. Glorybringer is an amazing card, but it can kill Omnath. But I don't think Omnath is going to be in the metagame anymore. Next up is, but it can hit so many things. Goldspan Dragon. It's a 5-drop 4/4 flying haste. Whenever it attacks or becomes the target of a spell, create a treasure token. Treasures you control have tap, sack this, add 2 mana of any color. So rather than only producing 1 mana, they produce 2 mana. And now we're not trying to like ramp into anything beyond Goldspan Dragon, okay? That's very important. We're not trying to combo out with some huge mana spell or anything like that. We're going to be using it for a tempo way to just allow us to tap out on our turn, casting creatures and spells and things like and other things, and then having mana available with those treasures to be able to cast things during our opponent's turn. It allows us, because if you're creating treasures and not ramping, it's just giving you extra mana so that you can tap out on your turn and still have mana. Next up is that's it for creatures. Next up is Lightning Bolt, which is 1 mana, 3 damage, one of the best. Like it's amazing. I want to say it's one of the best spells in Modern, but like one of the most played spells. 4 opt, scry 1, draw a card, amazing. Also, all of these are going to be triggering Sprite Dragon to make it bigger. Is it charm as a 1 of? You could replace this with Remand, but I honestly really love the flexibility of this card, but not enough to make it more than a 1 of in the deck. Is it charm? Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2. Is it charm? Deals 2 damage to target creature, or draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. Now, it's a lot of flexibility, and I love this card. And honestly, it's probably one of the only flexible spots in the deck. But it's still worth being in here. I really like this card. It gives you a lot of different options for what you can do, and a deck like this likes those options. Mana Leak is a 2 mana counter unless they pay 3, and in a deck like this, in a deck in Modern, it basically reads counter target spell. Especially again when we're no longer going to be dealing with Uro decks, we don't have to worry about decks just ramping a ton. The only one we'd have to worry about is Titan, and that's an easy fix. Soulmug Scorn is something that I really like. It's a tech that I really like in this deck. It says, as an additional cost to cast it, you may reveal a dragon card from your hand. Now let's take a pause right now and look at our deck. Goldspan Dragon, Glorybringer, Sprite Dragon, right? So that's 8. And then 4 more through Changeling, which means that we have 12 out of our 19 creatures. 12 of those creatures we can reveal with Soulmug Scorn to counter our opponent's spell. Now it says counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. If you reveal the dragon card or control the dragon as you cast it, counter that spell instead. So we don't even have to have it in our hand. We can Changeling on turn 1 and Scorn on turn 2. And this is just a straight up counter spell. Now, if it were there's talk about it being reprinted, counter spell being printed in Modern Horizons 2, that would be a strict upgrade, because you wouldn't have to have a dragon. But it's still, I love Soulmug Scorn. It's such an unexpected card. Anyway, next up is Blood Sun, and this is a budget Blood Moon. You can easily put Blood Moon into this deck if you own it. Just slot it in for the Blood Suns. And so Blood Sun says, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. I love that it replaces our hand. It replaces itself in our hand, and in a deck like this, we really want that. All lands lose all abilities except mana abilities. Now, this is very good for what we're trying to do with stopping like fetch lands and stopping really annoying things like Field of the Dead. But if I'm going to be honest, if you're looking at this deck and you're like, oh, I really like this deck and want to improve on it, first thing you got to do is turn these into Blood Moons, because we get our treasures. So even if we get messed up on mana, which we won't, we do have those treasures to help us out. But Blood Sun is amazing for everything else. Blood Sun against, Uro deck we don't have to worry about anymore, but Blood Sun is still amazing. Anyway, next up is Island, Mountain. Those are our colors. We have more islands because our counterspells are more reliant on that. And we really want to hit that turn 1 Changeling. For Shivan Reef as a way to provide you dual lands without necessarily needing to use a color every turn. That way you don't lose life. But the life loss isn't that terrible. Temple of Epiphany as a very, very budget card. It actually has gone up a little bit since last time I used it. Doesn't matter a ton. But Temple of Epiphany is a very nice card because it gives us both of our colors and lets us scry. So this doesn't let us hit our Changeling on turn 1, but it definitely lets us hit our 2 colors. Anyway, that's our main deck right there. And our sideboard consists of engineered explosives for hammer time or any other annoying decks like that. Tormod's Crypt for graveyard hate. If you want to upgrade these to relics, you can. Because I have relics in my other decks, so if you build several of my decks, you'll already have relic. But Tormod's Crypt is perfect anyway. It does what it needs to do. Flame Slash deals 4 damage to target creature, just extra removal. Spell Pierce for those combo decks. Abrade for those creature decks that also have artifacts. Aether Gust for those combo decks and aggro decks. Damping Sphere for those Tron decks, for those Storm decks. And very rarely for those Trickery decks. It doesn't really help against that. They'll just wait it out until they have enough mana. And honestly, our main deck has enough answers to that deck that it doesn't matter. Anger of the Gods as a board wipe, and that we probably will live through. If you want a more reliable board wipe, you could easily go for the one that does everything but flying creatures you control. But this is perfect anyway. It does exactly what we want it to do, and it exiles. And then Ashiok to prevent our opponent from searching, but also to exile stuff from their graveyard. So, Graveyard Hate isn't going to be as necessary because of the Uro ban, but it's definitely something to keep in here because it's just a very, very good card. Anyway, this is the deck, and as you can see, we are 96.75 in paper, and so it is a budget deck, and it looks like a really powerful deck, even for a budget deck. Now, that's the point of this channel, to prove to you guys, hey, you can play Modern without fetch lands. You can play Modern without throwing away your wallet. Anyway, this is the deck, and I really enjoyed it when I play tested it. It seems really powerful. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, let me know below and hit that like button. If you want to see any more content like this, if you have an idea for yourself, then hit that subscribe and let me know below, and I will see you next time.